name is Dr. Adil Hamid. I'm a naturopathic physician. And for those of us who are not familiar with naturopathic medicine, it is a system of primary care medicine that focuses on medical diagnosis and treatment, but also on non-drug therapies, so alternatives to pharmaceuticals. So we are trained and use quite well nutrients, physical therapy, exercise therapy, herbal medicine, and some aspects of spirituality to help people find the root causes of their illnesses and kind of dig down deep instead of kind of putting out symptom fires. So getting at the root cause where a lot of those symptoms might be connected, and then treating at that level using natural methods. And I do prescribe pharmaceuticals very rarely, though. I think in my 15 years of clinical practice, I probably prescribed 5 times, maybe on count on one hand. And that's because I find natural medicine so incredibly helpful. I am also the founder of the 40-Day Fresh Start program, which addresses fatigue, digestive concerns, mood imbalances, both naturally and simultaneously, because we're getting to those underlying causes. And I have been practicing for 15 years, and my focus is on mental wellness and metabolic wellness and where those two intersect, and also women's health. So I have been able to act as a faculty member on 2 of the premier naturopathic medical schools in the United States and help to train the next generation of naturopathic physicians as well. All right. And I've also been speaking for probably about 15 years as well, and have helped companies like Amazon and the American Heart Association to improve the mental wellness specifically, but also heart health and overall health of their staff. So today we're going to be talking about how to cultivate motivation when we're setting goals and hopefully making those meaningful goals, how to keep making progress even when we don't feel like it, because a lot of times that's what holds us back. And the single most important place to start if you're wanting to improve your health this year and moving forward, and then how to leverage gut microbiome testing and information from that and self-care practices to achieve your personal health goals and improve energy levels, immune fitness, brain health and focus, emotional balance, mood, and digestive health as well. All right. So goals. So, we all know that goals are important, and they are, outcomes that you want to see in the future. So you're envisioning, you're planning, you're committing to an outcome. And the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I would say that the best way to co-create your future is to the best way to co-create your future or to predict the future is to co-create it. And I say co-create because there's so many things that we can't control, right? So we work with those things we can't control, and we flex our autonomy muscles and do what we can to make a future that we would like to see, that we want to be a part of. So what is a meaningful goal? In my mind, a meaningful goal is something that is aligned with your identity, your values, your vision, and it has a significant personal cost of inaction. So if you don't reach this goal, if nothing happens, if there are no real consequences, then unlikely it's going to be all that motivating, right? So a meaningful goal means that if it doesn't happen, there's a loss there and something that you don't want to lose. And they're inherently motivating because of that. Meaningful goals are directional. A meaningful goal should start with you, but end with something that's bigger than you, especially if you really want to be happy. And we all want to be happy, right? People who have beliefs that are bigger than them, values that are bigger than them, believe in a higher power, they regularly score higher on any test measuring happiness. So if we're going to set meaningful goals, it means that we are aiming to be happy overall because they're directional. They draw us forward. Meaningful goals help you focus both mentally and physically on the journey that you're on towards your vision. And they give you an opportunity to contribute at your highest level to reach your full potential. So they're inherently motivating. And this is an important time for motivating goals. Part of why a meaningful goal is motivating is because it's based on truth. It's based on data. So we're going to be working through a framework where we go over kind of teasing out goals that the steps towards goals that you want to reach based on 3 specific characteristics. Your identity and how they align with your identity, how they align with your values, and how they align with your vision, what you want to see in the future. And it's a framework that I see helps with personal goals. So even in health and in relationships, with career goals, so that you kind of set up a strategy for how you want to progress in your career that's aligned with your identity and your values. And also team and organizational goals. So especially during this great reshuffle and reassessment with employees and the whole workforce in general, we've had this chance to kind of sit back during this pandemic and just rethink what we want for ourselves, what's working, what's not working, and organizations and teams that are able to really articulate what their goals are, what their values are, what their vision are, at this point are going to attract the types of people who have been reassessing and want to align better with organizations that match up with their personal goals. So if you want people who are going to come in and really display organizational commitment, then you want to make sure that you're very clear on that. You want to ask too, right? You want to make sure that the people that you have already, if you want to retain people on your staff that are doing well, you want to ask and find out and maybe do a survey to see how committed they are, and then course correct as you move forward. And there's some really great resources on assessing that. I think Andrew Kitchener, I don't know if he's on the call here, but he has some great information on organizational commitment and how to assess that. So he would be a good person to connect with. Okay, so in your worksheet, there is a part to write out some of the things that you are feeling grateful for. So you can go ahead and put that into your own worksheet or share here in the chat. Also, we're going to start talking about identity, and I'm going to have you just add in the chat something that is unique and undeniable, right? So an important part of your personal narrative or your lived experience, and you are going to need this because it roots you, it grounds you in who you are and where you want to go. So as you're thinking about that and putting into your worksheet, then I'm going to share a little bit about my own life experience and some of my, grounding identity facts. So you learn a little bit more about me, but then also have an idea of what we're talking about here. So for me, one of the important, parts of my lived experience is that I am a child of immigrants. My family moved to New York City when I was 3 years old from Nigeria, and they were in their 40s, and they had 4 kids aged 11 to 2, and, kind of braved the new culture, the new weather, the new challenges, but also the new opportunities. And that's been one fact that's really shaped my entire life, my entire lived experience. And I've definitely felt like one of these, is not like the other, like one of these eggs, especially when I moved back to Nigeria when I was 13. So that was like a double dose of culture shock. But now I wouldn't trade those things for the world, right? Like I wouldn't trade the cultural perspective that I've had and how it really formed who I am and now what I do. So could you go ahead and add in the chat one fact of your identity that you connect with, and it kind of helps to ground you. And I think there's a little bit of a delay. So I will give a second so that we know that you're here and that you are able to add that in. So go ahead and add in just one thing that has been a defining moment, a defining fact for you. For me, it's that, being from a different place and having to, just have that as part of my identity. So go ahead and add that in the chat or add it into your worksheet. And I will look at those in a second. But we are also going to talk about values. And your values are what is most important to you, right? Or most important to your organization. So you want to also share in the chat or add into your worksheet, what are those unwavering aspects of your life that you value, that you hold so dear? For me, my number one value, core value, is gratitude. A lot has been invested in me, in my education, in my expertise, really my parents, but also generations worth of sacrifices and investments and choices. So I really stand on the shoulders of everyone that's come before me, and their investment really spurs me on. So that has been a big, way that my vision has been shaped, because I know where I'm coming from and all that's gone into me being able to do the things that I do. And I had a contact who shared a story with me a while ago, who his big value is family. He cared about his family first and foremost, and he wanted to take care of them. So he worked really, really hard, the crazy hours, the all-nighters. But what ended up happening was that he didn't take very good care of himself, and his health began to fail. And he went to the doctor one day, and he had, diabetes and cardiovascular health, and he was kind of in bad shape, but working so hard to take care of his family. And his doctor said, and he had young twins at the time, that if he wanted to see his kids grow up, that he was going to have to make some changes. So his values stayed the same. He wanted to care about his family, but the way he was going about it had to change. So his identity of wanting to be someone who would be there for his kids, and his value of family had to shift so that he can do that in a way that would also feed his vision of, being able to see his kids grow up. So what are those like core values that you hold dear? And for organizations too, we have to acknowledge that right now the future of work is meaningful. A recent LinkedIn workforce confidence survey revealed that 25% of job seekers were in Generation Z, and those respondents were planning to leave their current employers within the next 6 months. And 80% of those Gen Z job seekers want to join into a company that has better alignment with their values, right? And a recent survey also said about 50% of the people they surveyed back in November were going to be looking for a new job in 90 days. So that's around now. And at least 61% of them believe that it's really, really important for them to be in an organization where their values are aligned with their passions and their interests too. So addressing values right now is super important on a personal level and also on an organizational level. So what are some of those values for you that you hold dear? Okay, Shoshana says, becoming a mother. That's beautiful. Is that a value for you, or is that a part of your identity, that desire, right? Because that's really important. If that's as an identity, that is super important to know that there's a way that you need to move in the world as a mother or wanting to become a mother. And as a value, that's something too that will shape the way that you make choices moving forward. But thanks for sharing that. Any other identity statements or value statements? Are you guys able to access that worksheet and add in there as well? I hope so, because I can't see or hear you with this platform. But yeah, thank you for adding that. But that's something that will ground you and shape the way that you move forward. Okay. And next is your vision. So your vision is what you want to see in the future, right? And this is where that something bigger comes in, something bigger than yourself. Because if a goal starts with yourself and ends with yourself, you really haven't gone very far, right? You want something to help pull you forward and move you beyond necessarily immediate needs or things that kind of end with yourself. So for me, that bigger thing is just making good on that investment in me over generations and continuing a legacy. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father were all community leaders and herbalists. So being able to learn and to practice naturopathic medicine very much is a continuation of my legacy. And it's something that has made a huge impression on me that I can, quite uniquely continue on with. So continuing a legacy and then leaving that legacy for my kids. For that contact that I told you about, he wanted to watch his kids grow up, right? So his vision was to be able to take care of himself, in a way where he would still be active with his kids as they grew up. So that, shifted everything that he was going to do. And for teams and organizations, you want to think about your people. What do you offer your clients, your customers, the people who you work with, but also your team internally? What do you offer them? What do you want to offer them? What do you offer to the community or to the world? What are you giving back? I think that's really important, and what people are looking for now in the job market for sure. But even people who are reshifting and reassessing, what are they doing? Where do they want to be? This is really important to know that organizations are trying to make an impact outside of their four walls and beyond their bottom line. Okay. Yeah, Shoshana says, it's definitely shaped every choice I've made after becoming a mom. Oh my goodness, yes. I have 3 little ones of my own, and everything changes when you are responsible for someone else, right? And then it's not just the day-to-day, but also what'll happen if I make these choices in the near future, in the far future. It is a real way to grow. I always say that becoming a parent grows you up in ways that you would not grow up otherwise. So yeah, it's connecting with that and reminding yourself that that's where a lot of your choices come from really changes and shapes the way you move in the world. Thanks for sharing that. And then the other thing to consider is the cost of inaction, right? Like, what happens if your goal isn't met? Does it really matter? If it doesn't really matter and doesn't impact you or the people or the causes that you care most about, then unlikely you're going to be all that motivated to keep up with it, right? But if the cost of inaction is great, the greater the cost of inaction, the greater your motivation, right? We respond well to consequences. And like, if this, then this. If nothing happens, then we'll likely make excuses, we'll drag our feet. And there's this concept in behavioral finance called loss aversion. You might have heard of this, but it's where investors are so fearful that they're going to lose part of their investment that they just kind of hold on to it, and they're much more likely to have a sense of pain from a loss, twice as likely from a loss in an investment than they feel a joy of making a gain in an investment. So we're so loss averse that many investors don't even acknowledge that a loss has already happened until it's too late, and then they end up kind of dealing with the negative effects of that for longer than is necessary. So they hold on, and then they suffer more as a result, because they just held on to that so long. And it's the same in our personal lives, in our professional lives, right? Like, we invest in lifestyles, in ideologies, and politics, and companies, and careers, and communities, and it really hurts to feel like we are losing something when we shift out of our comfort zone in those realms, right? It hurts more than thinking what we might gain, but that shift really does need to happen if we're going to go after what it is we want. So we have to think about what it is we're really losing as opposed to what it is we'll gain, and which one is kind of more expensive, right? When you have skin in the game, in your comfort zones, it really can be detrimental to your mental health, your physical health, and your long-term personal and professional goals. So what we want to do is regularly take stock of what is in alignment with our identity, our values, and our visions. Otherwise, it's hard to move forward intentionally and meaningfully. So you want to ask yourself, like, what is the cost of inaction? And what would happen if you don't take the steps to move forward to reach those goals? For me, it's, the legacy of my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, which just could not be continued in the way that I could very uniquely continue it because of my education and my cultural background, both here in North America and in West Africa, because of my understanding of both conventional medicine and natural and alternative medicine. There's no one else that could do it the way that I do it. And it's important to me to be able to make that contribution. And for organizations, for example, we do a lot of training for mental wellness training, helping people to cultivate mental wellness in a way that's sustainable. And for an organization, you have to remember that there is an economic cost to your employees having mental health concerns. Depression alone causes 200 million lost workdays, lost productivity a year, and it costs anything from 17 billion to 44 billion per organization. And the economic burden of depression alone is upwards of $326 billion in the US. And in the globally in the whole world, it's over $1 trillion a year because of depression alone, let alone anxiety and OCD and other, other mental health concerns. So it's really important to take stock of what is the cost of not supporting, staff, for example, in mental wellness. It's really, really expensive, more expensive than maintaining the status quo. So how's this going? Can you drop in the chat if this is helping you to think a little bit differently, if you're using this framework and thinking about your goals and how you frame them a little bit differently? I hope this is helpful. So when you put all of your statements together, you have a bit of a motivational mantra. So for me, and this is me with my parents at my first birthday, that little baby is me. My husband says that my daughter makes the same face. I don't know what that face is, maybe a little bit suspicious. I don't know, but apparently she makes that face too. But my mantra is, I am the child of immigrants. I value all of their hard work and I will make good on their investment in me. And, the cost is a loss, a breakage in the lineage that means a lot to me. So I want to serve as many people as possible with my specialized expertise and skills. And just have to remember, and we all have to remember, that there are contributions that only you can make based on your life, based on your professional experience, based on your expertise, your interests, your passions. No one can make those contributions for you in your place in all the different contexts that you exist. So you have to remember that when you're making goals and making decisions based on these big overarching goals in any aspect of your life. So where do we start? We're gonna break down what success looks like, right? And I love this quote by Maya Angelou saying that success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. I love that. Anyone have some mantras to share? Anything that you can kind of put together and share with us? Like, let me see if I can fix my light. I am a incredible DEI specialist. I am a problem solver. So this is what it means for how I move in the world. I am a mother. This is what it means. This is what I want to see. Right. So let's look at what success looks like. You want to break things down, right? And a lot of times we get tripped up because we're just like, this is a huge goal. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how it's going to come together. So that's why there's this framework called making SMART goals. And you want to sort of start with your vision and then reverse engineer back what it's going to take today to get there. So the best thing you can do is start with some gratitude. That makes a big difference because that puts you in a place of abundance. It really rewires your brain. Like, instead of you find what you seek, right? Seek and you shall find. So if you're always looking for things going wrong and problems and shortcomings, and that's really what you'll find. But if you can start to train yourself to look at what is going right, then your brain will start to go through those pathways naturally on a cellular level. So I recommend always starting with some measure of gratitude, even if it's just like the air in your lungs. That's something that you're gifted, right? And then looking at your mantra, thinking about meditating on that mantra. This is who I am. This is what's important to me. These are my values and this is my vision. And this is what this is what I will create. This is what I will do. And if I don't do those things, here's the cost. And that cost is entirely too expensive for me. If it's a mental, emotional, physical cost, psychological cost, it's too expensive. So I need to do these things. They're important to me. And then once you've meditated on that, you want to start a routine. You want it to be woven, how you reach these goals, into your daily routine. Because if we don't make it into our routine, it's just like that thing that we're going to do, it's still a wish. You have to make a plan that is smart, and we'll go over what that means, so that every day you're working towards it. So SMART stands for specific. So you want something that is a discrete item that you can do today or tomorrow, and then you can check off a list, right? You want it to be measurable. Before you took that step, this was the reality, and now that you've taken it, something new has occurred. So there needs to be a measure. It needs to be achievable. We don't want to practice like self-sabotage and say, I'm going to climb Mount Everest tomorrow. That's not achievable unless you're already at Mount Everest and you've already been training. So there are lots of steps that go into it. So you want it to be achievable, realistic, and timely. Timely is a really big one because a lot of times we'll say, oh, I really want to take that piano class. And then we never, go ahead and make an appointment to set up a lesson or anything like that. But we never say, I want to become the type of piano player that can play, Beethoven by March 31st. That's completely different because now on February 23rd, you're moving, you're doing things, you're making plans. So you want that to be timely. And that goes for health goals, personal goals, relationship goals, any type of goal. You want to give yourself a timeline and also know and think of, what will happen if I don't do this by that time? Because if it's a timeline that really has no consequences, then again, that's less motivating. So you want to give yourself a timeline as well. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And you want to identify potential setbacks. So these are the ways that we self-sabotage, right? Or things that always come up and then they derail us. So you can go ahead and add in your worksheet or in the chat as well, like how do you usually get in your own way, right? I've had people who've taken this training before and they just get really overwhelmed. They take on too much, or it just feels like so big, this goal, and they get really overwhelmed. And one person said that to combat that, they were going to start a pre-list. So the pre-list is all the stuff you're getting ready to get ready list, but make it timely, right? So it's like, I'm going to get ready by the end of this week. And then next week, we're actually going to get ready. But then that breaks down all the goals. So if this person wanted to start an educational consultancy, so she, as part of her pre-list, had to research some of the other consultancies and see what they were doing, what she wanted to do similarly or differently. And then her list started with starting a website, right? And beginning an online presence. So how do you get in your own way? Do you want to share in the chat how you get in your own way? I know sometimes I can be self-deceptive. I'm an optimist, always an optimist, but that means that sometimes I leave things a little too long. So I have to really plan on starting things early. So think about how you might get in your own way and then plan to overcome those tendencies. And what is it for your team or organization? Is it a lack of rapport communication? Is it a lack of data, right? At least a recent survey showed that 65.8% of employees were looking for jobs outside their organization because they wanted better opportunities right? To do different things, to do different work. If you don't know that, if you haven't asked what's going on with the people who are already in your organization, then you are going to lose, very motivated people that want to do new things and have more responsibilities. So to retain talent, you want to create systems like we do in our personalized routines where you are always keeping those lines of communication open. You're doing regular surveys, you're finding out what people want and need, you're actively listening, and then you're creating constructs that help support people to reach their goals, because that is the future of work, is meaningful, it's relationship based, it's human. And I think that's a really good thing. So you don't want to paint yourself in a corner here. You want to use productivity tools, right? What is it going to take to get towards these goals? What do you need, right? And that can be calendars, reminders, software, trackers. And you'll see in that worksheet that you can click, and there's a habit tracker that I made, and it's really simple, but it's circular, and something about that made me want to use it. So you just kind of write your there's a little slice of the pie where you can write your goals and then you just check them off every day for the month. And I think that's a simple way. You can put it, somewhere in your home. You can keep it on your phone. I use my phone a lot, so I have lots of reminders and things like that going all the time. But what do you all use? I'm actually pretty curious. Okay, Shoshana says that not breaking your goals down into smaller chunks, not giving yourself grace. Yes, oh my gosh. Breaking it down makes a huge difference, right? So that you don't get overwhelmed, and then giving yourself that time limit. And if it doesn't happen, that time limit, give yourself another time limit, like just keep moving forward and give yourself the grace, because we are juggling lots, but making sure that you give yourself that buffer space so that you can keep making progress on those goals. But what do you use? I often will use like my phone and reminders and things like that. Health trackers too are super helpful. But this is a good time to think, what do I use and what do I need? What would make my progress even better? What would be helpful moving forward, right? And then you want to consider incentives, right? You want to make sure that you are not just moving forward and kind of white knuckling it, right? You want to reward yourself, like you're making progress, and that's important to punctuate those milestones. So I want to warn you, a break. I'm going to take a break. That's my reward. That's not a reward. Sleep, food. Those are not rewards. Those are necessities. You need those things to function, to fuel your ambition and your passions. I would recommend focusing on experiences, things that you always want to do, but you haven't had the time or made the time, so that you end up kind of weaving all these beautiful memories into your journey of reaching your goal. And that works for organizations as well. Like, people just love to be acknowledged. They love to just, even if it's just like a message in Slack or a Starbucks card, something like that. People love to know that their hard work is acknowledged and that it's punctuated. Like, oh, we got that. I don't know. Those gift cards when we reach that goal as a team, and that feels good. And you think back, when you look back, like, oh yes, during that project at the end we're able to do this, and it weaves this beautiful journey, this tapestry of your journey. It tells a beautiful story of your journey towards goals. So you should think about that as you go along, is to make sure that you're weaving in these rewards and make it fun. You want the destination to kind of feel like the journey. So you want it to be fun, right? You don't want to be gritting your teeth. You have to remember that this is your life, whichever types of goals you're trying to reach. I mean, if it's a health goal, if it's a personal goal, if it's a career goal, an organizational goal, this is still your life. We're all here together co-creating this reality, but you have choice. We always have a choice, even if it's just the choice of how we respond to what's going on. So we can definitely weave in fun into the process, weave in levity into the process, and stay positive as well. We can choose our thoughts, irrespective of the circumstances around us. And sometimes our thoughts are creating the reality that are aligning with the struggle, right? The struggle of reaching the goal. So you want to get out of your own way and believe that the goals that you're working towards are possible. You seek and you shall find. If you're out there, looking for opportunities and believing that you have everything you need to make those opportunities happen, to attract positive opportunities, then more and more that will be the reality that you're living in. And you want to celebrate small and big wins too. You want to celebrate progress, you want to celebrate growth, and some people have a hard time doing that. So often I'll recommend celebrating disasters averted. Like, it could have been much worse, but here we are, we're making progress. It's good. And also, part of making it fun is having social support. We're really better together, no matter what goal it is, right? If it's a personal goal, a health goal, a team goal, like, find a way to find like-minded people, or even just cheerleaders, right? Someone who you can go back to and say, I did it, I'm so excited. And they would cheer you on and support you in different ways that people can uniquely support us. So make it fun, make the journey as beautiful as the destination you're envisioning. All right. Casey said that, okay, Shoshana uses a Google Calendar. Oh my gosh, yes. the whole Google suite is my whole life too. I use everything. And use a calendar on your phone to schedule prayer time with God in my calendar too. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I have a couple of prayers that I say every single day, and they completely ground me every morning. As soon as I'm conscious, aware of being awake, there's one that is just, an offering of the day to move forward, and it's just so grounding. So whatever that is, some people it's exercise, some people it's a ritual with their morning routine, whatever it is that is grounding and keeps you going. Scheduling makes a big difference, because then it'll happen if you schedule. If it's in your, someone said, if it's not in their Outlook calendar, it's not going to happen. So all these things we're talking about are kind of soul care. And St. Augustine said, take care of your body as if you were going to live forever, and take care of your soul as if you're going to die tomorrow. And I like that. And it might sound a little morbid, like, oh, thinking about dying tomorrow. But the truth is, we never know. And if we are always making a routine of checking in to see what is in alignment with our souls, with our minds, with our spirits, with our goals, with our vision, with our identity, then that is important soul care and self-care and in that sense. But we have to do the same for our bodies as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about where to start if you have personal health goals that you like to reach now, but kind of always. And I will tell you that it is with your gut. It's always the gut. And you might think, oh, but the gut is just where you have digestion and, internal organs. But we're learning so much more about the gut microbiome, which is every person's unique makeup of microbes, that we have more microbes and microorganisms that make up our body than we do human DNA, right? Like, we're more microorganisms than we are human. So you have to remember that the gut is where your digestive system is, yes, but also your endocrine system. So where your many hormones are produced and definitely processed. Where your immune system is, 70% of our immune system is in the gut. Where you process, food for sure, but that's where your fuel comes from. So most of the energy we're going to be using is a product of our gut processes. Also, a lot of your mental health happens in the gut. 70% of more than 70%, 95, maybe more percent of our serotonin, which is the neurotransmitter that is manipulated with antidepressants, is produced in the gut. So your immune system, your hormone balance, and your brain health, right? So many neurotransmitters are produced in the gut, especially that serotonin, and therefore your emotional well-being also kind of is centered in the gut, because if your blood sugar is up and down based on what we ate, then that's processed in the gut, but that can also affect your mood, some of these neurotransmitters as well, and of course your did I get them all? Immune system, hormones, your energy efficiency, all in the gut. And what causes imbalance, right? Often it's stress. When we're stressed, our whole body, our whole nervous system shifts into a nervous state called fight or flight. You might have heard of it. Well, when you're in fight or flight, you're not going to digest well. Your gut will become imbalanced, because now you're trying to survive. So instead of digesting well, instead of processing hormones, instead of building immune cells at the right levels, you are just trying to stay alive. So that shifts everything out of balance, where you should be in a rest and digest mode, where you're able to keep those processes going in a sustainable way and maintaining your health on all those different ways. So stress, lack of a nutrient dense diet can do it, and eating poor quality food, immune illness. So, if your immune system is not healthy in general, then that is going to shift the health of the gut microbiome, and trauma as well, emotional trauma, physical trauma. Also toxins, so environmental toxins, but also from medications or other chemicals that we are exposed to can cause a shift in the gut microbiome. So I'm going to use the same framework that I taught you for making goals in different aspects of life to describe how we can do the same with health, and that I've been using with my patients in private practice and in consulting over the past 15 years. So identity, we can use that to describe how we should go about figuring out what's right for each person. The future of medicine, the future of work is meaningful, and the future of medicine is very personalized and highly individualized. So it's not like, I'm going to try a fad diet, or I'm just going to try what everyone else is trying. No, you need to know exactly what's going on in your body so that you can take steps to improve your health specifically. So you want to find out what deficiencies are with blood testing. A few types of testing that I use routinely. One is blood testing to see, do you have enough immune cells? Do you have the right levels of iron that can contribute to fatigue? Low magnesium can contribute to muscle aches and pains, and also heart issues. Electrolyte imbalances can affect cardiovascular disease, blood sugar levels over a span of time, vitamin D levels, which are so important to have at the right levels for mood and for immune health. All those things, we want to see where you are specifically and treat those imbalances. You want to see where vitamins and minerals are, how your organs are functioning, all those things. So that's number one, is just a blood test to see metabolically how you're doing. The second is I use a lot of food sensitivity testing, actually, to figure out the space where we have the control. The most control is what we choose to put into our bodies, and what we eat goes right into the gut, which is where so much of our health overlaps, our health systems overlap. So if we figure out if there are foods that are not in the best interest of our health, if our immune health are causing inflammation, even if it's just that one snapshot in time where you take the test, it makes a big difference to figure that out and to make choices that are promoting health, especially gut health, immune health, over time. Even if it's a short period of time where you shift your diet into that more specifically anti-inflammatory diet, it makes a big difference. And all of those imbalances can start to shift so that you can have optimal health, because you're not consistently putting food into your system that might be causing inflammation and therefore imbalancing your gut microbiome health. And then we can actually also test the gut microbiome markers, which is just incredible and sort of a new frontier to see if there are markers that are out of balance that affect your energy efficiency, your immune fitness, your emotional balance, your gut health, and your cognition and focus. This is so important, I think, right now, especially because you want, personally and also for your teams, to improve both mental and physical health. And this is one test that gives you a score and how each person is doing on those realms. And then you're giving all this resources for nutrition, specific nutrition based on results, specific exercise and fitness based on results, and then specific mindfulness practices also based on results. So it's highly individualized, but you are able to make progress on so many different types of so many different levels of your health. And then for values, I think the values come in because once you have your motivational mantra, you're thinking, okay, these things are not going to happen unless I really take care of myself. And I think it's really important to remember that self-care isn't always bubble baths and chocolates and trips, fancy trips. Sometimes it's just taking a 10-minute break to breathe. Sometimes it's being with someone that you love. Sometimes it's not being with someone that you love and having some time to yourself quietly. But it's multidimensional. It's the way that we eat. It's the way that we move. It's the way that we manage stress and build resilience. It's the way that we notice ourselves. And those things can be taught. They can be put into practice over time. So I think it's really important to learn that self-care needs change over time, and that we can change our approach to self-care along with it, and that it can be therapeutic in so many different ways, and address even diseases and imbalances. So I have a self-care school. It's a course that helps you teaches and implements multidimensional self-care, and with support and accountability. And you'll go over modules like food and fitness, in medicine, stress management techniques, building resilience, gut health promotion, and also how to build and set intentional goals, and also boundaries. That's a huge one, is setting boundaries for ourselves and for others, so that we have space to reach our goals and we're not crowded by setbacks and other agendas that might impede us from making those goals. So I've been using this with my patients over the past several years, and it's just kind of incredible to see how much progress they can make in a discrete amount of time. So we're talking about SMART goals being timely. So I'm the founder of the 40-day Fresh Start program. And this is part of my vision, is helping people to look at their individual health needs, and then within an amount of time with implementing results based on their individual testing, and then putting in the work to implement self-care to help them maintain those gains that they make from clinical treatment. So in 40 days, we're able to, with the combination of those two interventions, help people to improve their digestion, their energy levels, their mood. And it's 40 days, but usually within about 30 days, people are feeling so much better. We recently had someone who's a COVID long hauler who had about 18 months of not being able to do more than one thing a day. And then after about 30 days with, finding an anti-inflammatory diet and implementing self-care and treatment to help with her lungs, because those had been really impacted by COVID, she was able to do several things in a day. And, it's really hard to deal with COVID or any illness on the long term. Long-term illness is exhausting and painful. So to have within 30 days have her at her peak of energy again was just incredible. We've had people with complex pain syndromes are able to reduce and go off their medication, improve their mood. People with long-term hypertension and mood concerns be able to kind of just come out of there with the coupling of this individualized self-care practices as well. We recently had someone also who had adult diagnosed autism and was able to improve her cognition and focus and body awareness and social awareness over time as well. So able to deal with neurodiversity issues as well, just by looking individually at markers that matter. And then lots of people who have had like long-term digestive concerns who are able to just put those in their past and then go on and do like bigger, better things. That's the best part, is that a lot of people end up, when you feel better, you do better, right? You're like, oh, that YouTube channel that I've just not had the capacity to start, that new project, that job I wanted to go for, I can do that now. I have the bandwidth. So that's some of the most exciting part too. To see people reach their big goals once they start to feel physically better. And then we've adapted that program to organizations as well, and helping organizations build a new normal, both for the individual health of their employees and their staff and their teams, but also for their collective health, because we offer like a private group where you can interact with staff members in, jointly implementing the self-care individually and as a group. And then that creates a change, a ripple effect in the workplace where everyone is focusing on improving their individual health and, kind of keeping an eye out for how in their workspace, how they can create that reality there as well. So it builds a lot of camaraderie in health and wellness in a team. And that makes a big difference right now, especially since some of us are remote, some of us are hybrid, some of us just have a lot else going on, and we're losing this engagement with our coworkers. But this helps us to, again, be engaged in a way that is, sort of like a win on all levels, right? Each individual is feeling better. They're more connected to their teammates who are also feeling better. Communication is better when we're feeling better. Productivity is definitely better when we're feeling better. And then you start to reduce healthcare costs based on lost days that are ill, because if you're treating people for individual health needs, then they're going to be able to perform at their peak every day and have less time out of the office. We also offer trainings and workshops, part of our corporate programs, trainings and workshops on stress management and resilience, nutrition and lifestyle, and using those as medicine, cultivating mental wellness. We can offer these gut health assessments as well for your team, or for individuals who are interested in those assessments, and then building out nutrition plans, individualized nutrition plans, mindfulness plans, fitness plans for each person, and building sort of a group experience as well that helps everyone just bond better. So everyone has a potential to boost their physical wellness, mental wellness, productivity, reducing burnout. We see a lot of burnout, especially now, but we're able to reverse that, quite successfully and in a discrete amount of time, because we are looking at those underlying causes of burnout and treating people in context, right? Offering support in context of all the hats they're wearing, being a caregiver and working your job at home, that has been a big shift for people. So trying to figure out what that individual context is and treating at that level. Reducing burnout and absenteeism, and helping people stay retained. Because when you have a wellness initiative that builds engagement and camaraderie and mental and physical health, you're going to attract people who want that, who that's important to them as they're looking for a position and want to be on a team that also fosters that group wellness. In your worksheet, you'll see that there are links to reach out to us if you're interested in a complimentary consult, which is 15 minutes where we can talk about what your needs might be and how to match you up with the resources that you need. Or if it's for your team, then we can definitely have a discovery call and talk about what your team needs and how we can build out some of that, some of the programs and offerings that would help you all thrive. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. This was really fun to speak on this topic for you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. All right, bye for now.